Hey guys, and welcome back to Content is Profit. Today we meet Laurie. Laurie lived in Japan as a 5'10" person. She says that she was a giant there, but not only that, but she's also a reformed, painfully shy girl who accidentally became a professional speaker. She walked the last 130 kilometers of the Camino from Sarria to the cathedral in Santiago, which is amazing. But we didn't connect just with this. She's also two Amazon best-selling author, Rethink Leadership and Rethink Your Leadership. And also the first call that we had was so impactful on how she came to be from like that little shy girl to an incredible world speaker coach. So we talked not only for that, but we also share some frameworks on a bunch of stuff that's applicable for new creators, mid-level creators, and expert creators, and share their voice and some tactical things, including teleprompters. So with that said, guys, enjoy the episode. Take care. Laurie, I have a question for you. Have you ever chat GPT'd your name before?
No, I haven't.
So,
are we going to do this now?
Yes. Well, you can if you want. You'll be like, oh my goodness, that's me. I mean, if you want to do it on a different window, totally. But for those that are just joining us in Content is Profit, guys, welcome to the show. We're just like talking like the pre-interview kind of hello. And, we landed there and we're like, well, we asked about these things that you just heard about on the intro. And she sent some awesome one, didn't she? And I was like, have you chat GPT your name before? Because when I did it, I was like, wait, who's that person? And then I went straight to my wife and it's like, babe, look at this person. And I started reading the description without saying it was me. And she's like, wait.
Oh my God.
Like that person does what you do, but it sounds super cool. And it's like, babe, that's me.
That is so funny. I can hardly wait to go do this now.
I know. I do test your friends and be like, hey, like, what do you think about this person?
Yeah, I will.
But the scary thing though, Laurie, is like, it was super accurate, but it was like such a, ego booster, I guess. It helped me that day.
Hey, wait, whatever it takes, right?
Yes. I mean, and
sometimes we need to pick me up.
100%. 100%. Yeah. But super excited to have you here on the show, Laurie. I appreciate your flexibility. I've rescheduled like 30 times and, we're here.
Here we are. Yeah. The show must go on.
Absolutely. When we connected, I was like, man, we need to chat because like your story is so powerful, right? Like you're a renowned public speaker coach. You won a bunch of awards. You did all that stuff that we mentioned in the intro. And I was like, a lot of people that come to us face the problems that you've identified, you help people with. So like, can you tell us like how you got into it? Because to me, that was super interesting.
Well, I think it's first a really good idea just to share with people that even though like I get on stage and I speak real easy, it wasn't always that way.
Yep.
So I just want to like share with people that literally one day I'm watching people look people in the eye and have conversation. And I thought to myself, this behavior of mine of keeping my head down and not looking at people is not going to serve me in the long run. So I literally just dared myself, look somebody in the eye, even for just a few seconds while you're talking to them, and then I could look away. And what I noticed was the earth did not open up and swallow me whole. The person that I was talking to didn't even laugh at me. So I was like,
wow.
Like that was positive reinforcement for me. So there is something about baby steps. I did it for a couple of seconds and then I was like, if I could do it for a couple of seconds and nothing bad happened, I bet I could do it again. And then again, and a little bit longer and a little bit longer. So that's how I taught my nervous system, like that I deserved to look at people in the eye while they were talking to me. So that is one part of the story. And the second part is I knew that I had something to say, but shy girl, like, how am I going to be a speaker? Like, I don't even know how you do that. Well, somebody asked me, pointed to me and said, you do the speaking for this event that I was helping to be a committee and plan for. And my head just shook up and down. And I said, okay. But deep inside, I was like, what are you doing? You're like, you're not a speaker. You're a shy girl. You're the girl in the back of the room taking good notes, like a good student. But self-integrity is one of my highest values. And because I said I would do it, I showed up and I did it. I didn't call in sick. I didn't say, oh, I got a flat tire on my way there. Like I showed up and just served the audience.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, because you've helped so many people. And I see it, right? Like we have business owners that, you know, we've encountered across all these years. We have maybe aspiring podcasters or aspiring content creators, and they get in the game because they might see some external messaging that they be like, oh, we must do this, right? We must be a creator. We must put our face in the camera and like talk about these things that we're supposed to know, right? And let alone that could be like that could be like really intimidating for a lot of people. And we've experienced it in studio where like we've hit the record camera and people are like just freeze, right? And we're like, whoa, like how can we navigate through this? So it does take a lot of bravery, right? And to be able to do that. So, you know, do you have a message maybe for those like starting to do that? You know, the background could be like, maybe this is the first tries that they start doing. Like how can they get started on it?
Okay, I'm going to use a gym analogy because you go to the gym, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yes, sometimes. Okay. Well, you don't walk into the gym and say, hey, I'm brand new here, but I'm going to go curl those 100-pound dumbbells. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe you are that strong, but like, woo, kudos to you. Okay.
Not even in my top shape.
But for me, like, I had to start with like 5 pounds and then work my way up to 10 and 12 and 15. And I'm proud to say, like, I'm somewhere around like 22.
Yeah, let's go.
But I didn't get there the very first time that I walked into a gym. And I think the same thing is true. You're trying to feel comfortable in front of the camera. It doesn't always happen that very first time. It's about doing the reps. And I'm also going to say practice, doing the reps and practicing. So, and also preparation. What are you going to say? Because most of the time, if you freeze up, when you look at the camera, when you hold the microphone, it's like, you didn't think about what you wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So come up with one tip, just one thing that you want to share with the audience. Share that one tip. It doesn't have to be a 15-minute live. How about a 2-minute live? Yeah.
That's very useful. And as you were sharing the story, I'm like going back to like when we first grabbed the camera, right? For us, like, cameras were always the thing. I think we made the decision of video because we could leverage a little bit more. But you know, my brother loves to write. So that's his default setting. Like he goes and he's like, okay, I'm going to create. And then he writes something and then he structures it and then he goes. I'm very different. Like for me, it's more, if I know what's coming, like it's harder for me to execute. So I have like a small prompt of, for example, hey, what happened today? And then how can I relate that to my business? Or what is the one tip that you mentioned, right? And as I start with like the hook, my brain starts working and I kind of deliver, right? And then we turn that into a different format content or maybe more refined type of content. So that has been my style, but that has been super interesting because people think like, man, like we have to start on this like 50-minute blog. Fun story. My older brother, Mario, when we challenged him to do something similar, he's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. So like very similar, like one thing. And he comes back like 30 minutes later. It's like my video lasted like 20 minutes. So like, if you're a person that maybe don't know what you're talking about, like, believe me, as soon as you start sharing, the time is gonna fly by.
It does. Sometimes I look down and I'm like, wow, how did I talk for 7 minutes on one little tip?
Yes.
But it's also about like, you know, a little more advanced tip is having a strategy, doing this very strategic. Now you're working off of your skill set very strategically. Your brother, he needs to write everything out. Yep. That's great. That's his superpower. By him writing it out, I'm sure it helps him memorize what he's going to be talking about. For you, too many words. This is what it sounds like to me. Too many words, you know, like almost get you too muddled. It's like you just want the one prompt and you're fantastic at tying it into your business strategy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Just this morning, we were on a call with one of our mentors and they were trying to figure out like a streaming thing for a customer, right?
Mhm.
And we showed this little trailer that came out today on like a new style of content that we're doing, almost like a weekly vlog of Biz Bros adventures. And it was almost like on the Montman handheld camera thing that we're trying out. And we show this device, and it's a what's it called? A teleprompter, right? It's like where I'm looking at you right now. You can put the picture, you can put like the script. And a lot of people in the studio ask us, hey, do you have a teleprompter? Can we use a teleprompter? And to me, like, I'm very tempted always to say no, because that's a skill in its own. And we go back to, hey, have you published? Have you created before? Because I think a very first step is to be very comfortable with yourself and how you express yourself. Because if not, you're going to create like this barrier to the, and
Yes.
it's almost going to be like a second personality that is not going to go through the camera, right? Like we almost like need to enhance our own personalities for it to reach the other person on the camera. So I would like your thoughts on this, especially because with that, I also saw a video of like, if you speak two languages, the second language almost like develops like this second personality, and is backed by studies, and so crazy to me. And it's almost like how we need to make an effort to like merge both and be like the same personality, maybe both outcomes. So, but content is almost like another language too, right? Like we're doing something different. So I would love your thoughts on that.
All right, let me like talk to the teleprompter thing first.
Yes.
Because I think I got asked by Skillsoft to come in and record some videos for their online training platform.
Yes.
And they told me that they had a teleprompter, and I'd never used a teleprompter before. However, I knew it was a very different form. I practiced, because the way that we write is very different than the way that we speak. So I wrote up my script, and then I started saying it out loud. And I was like, nope, got to edit that. Like it sounds like I'm reading something. And I did a really good job. And the reason why I wanted to use their teleprompter was they only had the studio for X amount of time. And I was like, I'm going to get in and out of there to do my 5 videos for them, like within an hour. And bingo, I did it within an hour. All because I did use the teleprompter. I was also speaking in front of these guys, you know, like you're in this black studio. So I just knew the environment might make me a little nervous. So having my script already written. But if you're going to use a teleprompter, anybody who's listening, make sure it sounds like you're talking. So you've got to read it out loud to yourself, even record yourself on a camera. That's what I did also to, you know, it's just a form of practicing. Now
I love it.
In regards to the different identity that you have when you are speaking like one language versus another language, I can see that. So one of them is your native language. And the other one obviously is your second language, which depending on why and where you learned that language can be very different. So you know that I lived in Japan when I was younger. So I would, you know, like I obviously like English is my first language, and then I move over to Japan and it's a very different language. Yeah. And I would say that I spoke like a foreigner, like in Japan, they call it a gaijin. I spoke like a gaijin. I still remember a lot of Japanese, but there wasn't a whole lot of slang in my Japanese. Okay. So I could almost see that like you do have a different identity when you're speaking one language. And I'm speaking from past experience from when I was a teenager. But to be able to blend those two, I think comes down to something that I tell my clients is what kind of a speaker do you want to be known as?
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, so I already know that this is a fun podcast. You know, this is fun. I've listened to your show before. I get some great ideas along with laughing along the way. And laughter actually breaks down that barrier for people, and it opens up the mind. Actually, this is a little bit of neuroscience for everybody.
I love it.
Opens up the mind to learning. So I always tell my clients, like one of the best ways that you could start your speech, especially if you're just before lunch or dinner, is to open with a joke or two. It just like, oh, okay. Like people start laughing. They forget that lunch is in an hour and their stomachs are grumbling. It opens their mind up to learning. So there you have it.
I feel like that's a double-edged sword, because then if your joke is no good, then everybody's like, where's the food?
That could happen. However,
we're like, let's make sure this joke is good. You got to do like 10 open mic sessions before your speech.
you want to know what I do? If nobody laughs, if nobody laughs, I just say, I can wait for you guys to find that funny. And,
there you go.
And so that's a little bit of Boston sarcasm.
Yeah.
And they'll probably like that. They'll laugh at, and then you just keep going on. You just move on.
No, I love it. There's something about Fonzie, which by the way, we're going to throw under the bus because he's not here. We need him. We need you, Fonzie. We miss you. For those that don't know, he's not fired. He's still working. He's just became a dad. Quick update. But one of the things that I admire of him, we were at one of the podcasting conferences, one of our first ones, and we were at this karaoke party, and I do not karaoke. And Fonzie, I thought he did not karaoke at the time. But then we were called up on stage by our good friends, Rita. We became good friends with her, and she has a Hispanic podcast network and is incredible. And I stayed recording. I was a content guy, and Fonzie got on stage, and it's the first time, right? Like that he goes on a big stage, like there's like hundreds of people like dancing and, about to go, zero judgment, right? Everybody's partying. And he goes, and before the song starts, he just drops in the floor and starts like break dancing. And for those listening, I'm like air quoting break dancing because that was more like flopping, like like a fish in the floor. And then he got up and then he started singing again, quotation marks. And then when he came down, I was like, dude, like, why'd you do that? And he's like, well, I read that if you like lean in and do something so goofy and so bad, whatever comes next is going to be easier. So I just decided to break dance, even though I didn't know how to break dance.
That's hilarious. I wish he was here for me to say that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Because he dared to do that for the very first time, like on a stage.
Yes, 100%.
Good for him.
It's almost like, you're walking on, you're very nervous, just like pretend to trip. And then, what could be worse than that? Like nothing. So you know what? It's going to be a lot easier.
Have you been following me? Somebody literally brought that to my attention once. They were like, really? You trip all the time and just keep picking it. Like, you find up your... I was like, I do? Yeah. Never even noticed. I don't even miss a beat.
I think personally for me, obviously creating almost daily, right? Like it's like a skill that you start developing, right? And you start finding not only your voice, but like becoming you in front of a camera. I think that's super important. Be like, this is me. And people like when we jump on Zoom calls or something, it's like, dude, like it's really you. And I'm like, yeah, like what would I change? And we don't have to develop another personality. That just creates a ton of friction, right? We talk a lot about like, how do you remove the friction? It's like, how about you be yourself? Like that's going to remove a ton of it, right?
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves, all right, what kind of speaker, what kind of podcaster, what kind of content creator do I want to be? So deciding.
So how do you identify that, right? Because I think like when we started, we didn't think about that. We were like, hey, how do we record the next episode? We need to record the next one and the next one. And then along the way, we kind of figure it out. And now we have like this like funky brand, funky vibe that we adapted to.
You do.
Yeah, exactly. So like, how do you do that from the beginning? Maybe, when people are thinking to start their platforms, what's the first step?
Okay. So I would say, and this is exactly what I tell my clients and also my students, decide what kind of speaker you want to be. Decide what kind of podcaster, fill in the blank. And I want you to write 3 or 4 words or short sentences that is going to best describe you. So one of mine is, I want to be approachable. I don't want the speaking world to seem like, oh my God, I have to be perfect. I have to speak perfect. I have to look perfect. So, I mean, like when I flub up on stage with, by the way, the audience never knows when you flub up. But if I have literally forgotten what I was going to say next because somebody asked me a question and I kind of got derailed. I literally will like look down at somebody and say, what was I talking about before? They laugh. They think it's part of my speech. And all they're thinking is, oh my God, I do that all the time. I forget what the hell I was going to say next.
Yeah.
So I want to be approachable, but I also want to be a little sarcastic and a little funny because I'm from New England, just outside of Boston. We're a little sarcastic out here. So like those are two of mine, but also like the third one is to still come across as a professional and somebody who can actually guide others to getting on stage. Awesome. So those are my three. So I remind myself of those so that now I'm stepping into being approachable, being funny and sarcastic, not being so perfect, not being hard on myself if I'm not so perfect. This way the audience will also feel that.
Now here's my question to you, right? Because like for some people might be like, oh, well, that's awesome, but I don't consider myself like a funny person, or I don't consider myself an approachable person, right? It might come easy to us if we're already those things and we're like, we just pinpoint and it's just like, I want to reflect that on the content that I'm creating, right? So that's for the people that have seen like the vlog style that we did. It's similar to that. We lean fully into, dude, like we're scrappy. We're like shaky. It's not perfect. The video is going to be blurred, whatever. We're going to lean on that, right? Like, and our personality, but it was easier in the way of like making the decision because we were already in that mode. But maybe there's some people out there that think they might need to go that way. Be like, oh, okay, if I'm funny and approachable, that people are going to be attracted to me and they're going to be like, and the perfect example is like my wife. My wife is total introvert, right? Love her to death. She's incredible. She's a genius at what she does, but she would never, ever, ever, ever think herself as like funny or approachable when it comes to like, first, she would never record content. So like, there might be some people that they're like, okay, I need to do content because my business depends on it. Right. And she might be, or he might be like my wife. And now and what?
Now, does your wife not know how to describe herself as a wife, a pharmacist? So I would say if you're unsure what you're good at, because sometimes we're too into our own lives to actually see where our brilliance is, I would say ask 5 good friends, people that are surrounding you. Like if you had to describe me, how would you describe me? Give me like 3 words, 3 short sentences, and see if there's a common theme on your besties that are surrounding you. That just there's probably something that they are in awe of you about.
Yeah, man, that's good. That's good. Where I think it was on speech class in college. Maybe they made us do something like that. But I think that's a useful tip. But okay. But again, follow-up question to it. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Hold on. And the painter is literally climbing next to my window. So hold on. There we go. By the way, background information for those listening. They're painting my house. So the guy's like so just funny. Like out my window. He's like, okay. So devil's advocate, right? They're like, perfect. These people describe me this way. But I still don't see like, are we talking now? Do we have to develop a skill to deliver the message that way? Or maybe it's like, hey guys, your best quality is that you're direct, even though it pisses a ton of people. And you're like, oh crap. Like, okay, well, I'm really good at that. Or like, you're very useful with your tips. You're super direct. Like it's always, but it might come across as you're like this, rest in bitch face type deal. Sorry if you're listening with kids, I apologize. And then like, okay, is that my style or do I have to do these other ones? Like, I think there's going to be some conflict there for some people. Right. And I'm hopefully we can guide them through that change. True.
So that's why we're asking several people and not just one person so that you're not hearing from that one person who says, well, you kind of have this resting bitch face but that's not really like you're asking your friends, like when you look at me and when you see me in action, what am I good at? I mean, if somebody said like you have a resting bitch face, I'd be like, that's what I'm good at. what is, I don't think
more
so.
Like the direct aspect of it, right? Cause like maybe the direct advice, they're so honest, the advice is for real, but then it might come across as not the best delivery, right?
There's 2 sides to every penny. Yeah. And I learned this when I was in executive coaching and was working with Johnson & Johnson, just a tiny company.
Yes.
One of the leaders said to me, like she was very confident.
Yeah.
Extremely confident. That's one side of the penny. The other side of that penny is that confidence scares people and intimidates people. And she had to be very aware of that some people that she was around, it inspired them, while other people, she had to tone down her confidence so that she could get the very best from her teammates.
Yeah.
So being direct, that's fantastic. I'm a very direct person also. And I know that I have to mentally, okay, I need to tone this down a little bit for this person. Yeah. So it can be a positive. All of our skills can be a positive and a negative.
Yeah.
So let's figure out, like, depending on who you're speaking to, how you're speaking, what kind of content you're making. Maybe it's perfect for one situation, but not for another. How are the painters doing?
Oh, he's right. It's still right there. I was like, whoa, I think he's talking on the phone. I thought he was calling me. Very distracting.
This is real life, people.
Hey, it is what it is. In the past, I would have been like, completely ignoring it, right? Like, this is what we're talking about, right? It's like, let's lean into these situations, right?
Yes.
Let's go in full out. That's you. It is what it is. And I think, so here's the thing, like the reason I ask is because I see it raw, like every day in studio, right? People trying to like become like this other person that they think they need to be on camera. And I'm like, look, like, let's talk about, like, let's shut up the recording for a second. Like, tell me about your day, right? And we go back to like the state of like me. And I'm like, this is it. And then it also helps that maybe when they have a co-host and they can like feed between each other, right? It helps a ton. And it's so, I think the advice that you're sharing is so powerful. And at the same time, it's like, once you lean in and you like, this is like who I am, like the three things, whether some people on the outside might consider that it's not approachable, it doesn't matter. There's going to be people that are going to resonate with that message. And those are your people. Those are the ones that we need to find, right? That's the glass, right?
Yes, 100%. I can't be the speaking coach for everybody. And I don't want to be the speaking coach for everybody. Yeah. I work with the people who resonate with me.
100%.
Like the world is full of speaking coaches, folks. I'm just like, I'm one person who, like, I didn't intend on becoming a speaking coach. It just happened. As entrepreneurs, we just are constantly pivoting for a number of different reasons. But here's one thing that I would say. If you're unsure of this, just try being yourself just for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks on camera. Just be totally yourself. See what happens. You don't like the results, you can go back to being your fake self after that.
You're just going to waste a bunch of energy being your fake self.
Yes. There's my direct side.
Yes, I love it. And thank you for that. Right now, we're running the Find Your Voice Challenge in our Content is Profit group on Facebook. And it's been very interesting because we're collaborating with a woman named Stacy that has run it for different companies. And we're trying to figure out, like, these 17 days, they're different theirs. And they might not have anything to do with your business. But now the challenge in our group is like, hey, we're sharing these stories that are true to us that, make us feel a certain way, or like make us like maybe manifest or visualize our future and explain it to people. It could be like voice note, written, video, live, like all these things. I know we're like, how can we transform that now into a process that helps our business? So a lot of ideas have come up, as in like these 17 days could be an indoctrination sequence for an email, because people are connecting with me, with the real Luis, right? Like,
yes.
And I'm going through the challenge just like everybody in our group, because it's the first time that we do it. And I'm discovering all these things because, like, well, now we're sharing stories about, the vacations or my parents, or like what I like to do on my time off, right? And people are going to connect with you on that. So what you're saying is so good, because so many people need it.
Yeah. And also, I would also like piggyback on the 17-day challenge that you're doing, is also to, like, at the end of each day, pick up your phone, pull up those voice notes or some sort of a notepad or something. What's a story that happened today? Something happened to you every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. Like I've said to my clients before, she's like, I don't know what to write to my email. I don't know what stories to tell on social media. I'm like, what happened yesterday? She's like, I was watching Netflix. This happened to be like, I was talking to her on a Monday. And so on Sunday, I'm like, well, what were you watching? She's like, Ted Lasso. Like I had like,
great
okay,
show.
Why? She was like, I was procrastinating. She was like, I was supposed to be editing my website copy, but I didn't want to do that. So I was watching. I'm like, there's a beautiful email. There's a beautiful story right there. You know, like how many people procrastinate on the things that they're supposed to on their to-do list, and they turn to Netflix. So the next time you're watching Netflix for the third hour, maybe you should stop and ask yourself, what should I be doing? I mean, like there's a story every single day, and it's about getting in the habit of noticing those stories, because those stories you can use on your podcast,
100%.
in your written content, on stage.
Yeah. Oh, so good. I know the funny story in procrastination. I'm master procrastinator over here. The other same thing, like we had to do all these things, and we are going through a revamp of processes with our team, and I have to like review a few of them. So I started, I was like, perfect. I feel great. And after 30 minutes, I'm like, I need some coffee. So I went down, and then I drink my coffee, and then I came back up, and I'm like, I jumped on YouTube, and then jumped on this other page. And then, you know what? I feel like I get these creative urges all of a sudden, as in like, I feel like I'm very creative. I need to create something. And I wrote, I put some tracks on it, and I started editing a little 1-minute song about procrastination. And it's like, why? Right. And it's not ready yet. It's going to be, but it's like this like lyrics type video. And then, you know, I'm going to publish it, because part of it is like, the story there for me internally was like, okay, I'm redirecting my energy. Maybe it's not the best, but this beautiful thing came out of that. And he's going to get some attention. Is going to elevate our personality and so on. And guess what? Once that urge came out, I went back and finished everything on time, which was great, right?
So maybe like, you just needed a creative release. Exactly.
And I was like, maybe that's a lesson, right? And it's like, sometimes we think we need to do these things or create in a certain way. And maybe you just like follow that urge and create the thing that you want to create, right?
Yes. Yes. But I think also at the same time, asking yourself, am I avoiding doing what 100%. I'm supposed to be doing?
100%. I was avoiding it.
Yeah. And like, what can come of this then? Yeah. And you created a song, which I can hardly wait to hear this.
I know. My mom told me I'm not a good singer, and you can tell.
Thanks, Mom.
Yes. So she has a story. It's hilarious. Like, she's like the musical person in our family. My dad was sports. We follow soccer. That's the dream. And I remember when we were like 5 years old, she puts in a music class, and part of it was playing these like little instruments, but also singing. And I was chosen to sing a solo in a Christmas song in December. And I remember that moment. Like, I remember performing, and all the eyes on me, and claps at the end. And I remember my mom being like proud. And later in life, she told me that she was praying for like the whole week that I hit the notes on the song, because she knew that I was no good. And apparently I did that one day. So I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great story, which reminds me of a singing story now. I'm like, I got to go write that one down.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I don't see karaoke. Full circle.
Yes. Yes. Full circle. I don't either. I have one of my sisters is self-taught in 6 instruments. And she has a voice that she walks up to, when she shows up for choir practice. Do you want me to be soprano or alto today? That's the kind of range that she has. It's like all the singing and musical DNA in my family went to one person.
Well, that we have a lot in common, because Fonzie is learning the guitar. He's doing really, really good. And I'm like, nice. Perfect. You're going to perform in my kids' birthdays.
That's right.
No, I
elevate those birthday parties.
Elevate those birthday parties. But Laurie-Ann, I really thank you so much for everything that you've talked to. We talked about your own language. We talked about a technique to use with a teleprompter. As you were explaining it, I was like, this is great, because here's a quick example. Let's say you're not good at writing. That's me. I'm gonna go with my example. So I can record a quick video. I put that video into amazing tech. It could be a software like Descript or Capsho. It will put it out for you. And be like, create like a little script for a 1-minute video. Bam. It goes out to your Word document. As you start reading it, right? You said, read it first. If it doesn't sound like you, start modifying and make it sound like you. 100%. And then that's the thing that you load on the teleprompter, and you do your reading like you talk, correct? Awesome.
Yes. And then you sound like you and not somebody else.
Exactly. Awesome. So we went through that. We also talked about like, decide what type of podcasters you want to be. And we kind of went through example. We play a little bit devil's advocate in there.
You did.
Yes. And Laurie-Ann like hit me with that, with the data. We're like, no, do this. No, this is great. This is why we come here, right? Because we want to expose like different scenarios. And it's funny because we have a story when we bought these mics like 5 years ago. everybody probably tells you, I hear my voice in the microphone and I hate it, right? I don't know. Was that you?
No, I have a whole, like whenever somebody shows up and says, I hate my voice, I got a whole thing that I talk about with them. It's like, if
you summarize it?
Yes. If you hate your voice, I bet you're holding yourself back because subconsciously you're thinking, if I hate my voice, they must hate listening to me.
Yes.
And you're either not saying what you need to say or just being quiet. Like I was like, let me just sit in the back of the room, and you don't raise your hand. You don't speak up. You don't hit the live button.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
Fall in love with your voice.
I'm going to start using that with the people in our studio, because it comes across. And my story is zero relatable, because the second we turned these mics on and we started talking to them, we were like, oh my gosh, I love my voice. What the hell? Like, this is so good. So yeah, it's horrible. I cannot share that story too much.
Yeah. Because the reason why most people don't like the sound of their voice is because what you're hearing, like the wavelengths are actually like bouncing off inside of your skull.
Yeah.
It's not what you sound like to other people.
Yeah. And it's, for the first time, it's something different, right? And it's so interesting.
Yeah, it is different.
Let's see. We talked about a technique of, how to make sure that you're good at something. Ask your friends.
There we go.
Yeah, but like when you flip the press, go to your friends. Go there. And so much more. And Laurie-Ann, thank you so much. Like, what will be as we wrap up the show? Like, what will be one thing? Almost like we call it golden boulders, like next action. People are like starting to publish. People are starting to put their voice out there. They might feel a little intimidated. They might feel some friction. Like, what's something that you could recommend as a tactical tip to move things forward?
I'm going to use a quote that I'm not going to do word for word from the gentleman who started LinkedIn. And he said, if you're not embarrassed by your first prototype, then you waited too long. And I take that as take action, move forward. My very first Facebook Live is still out on Facebook. And I am like, and this is a woman who spent years on stage, and I am like as flat as cardboard, and there's like no depth to me. I am scared because I am talking to my computer and nobody else, but I leave it up there because I want people to see that was me then. And this is me now. Like, even speaking virtually, this is a skill. Speaking on my podcast, it's a skill. So get out there and just take the damn baby steps, because you will do the reps, you will get stronger, and you will be so damn proud of yourself later.
Yeah, absolutely. And besides, like I heard, like, so good, by the way, golden boulder sound, gaboom, because I don't have my soundboard right now. But I also read the other day is like, if your content is no good, people won't be able to see it, because the algorithms are not going to push it. So
here we go. There's a good way.
You put it out there.
That is such a win-win.
Like, guess what? Like, okay, put it out there. A few people will see it, right? And it's meant for them. You're going to be helpful. But I think the fear comes to like, what if like millions of people see this, right? And I think to get to the point where like millions of people see this, either we pay for it, or we are so good that we deserve that attention, right? So let's start build your prototypes. They're going to get better every single time. I promise you.
That's right.
And let's move forward. And Laurie-Ann, how can people connect with you? How can people learn more about what you do or work with you?
I would say there's two places that you can learn more about me. One is on my podcast, which is Be in Demand. It's a podcast all about how to write and deliver amazing presentations. And also right over on my website is Speak and Stand Out. And from there, you can follow me on your favorite social media. And there's all sorts of goodies on my website.
Oh, yeah. By the way, we're going to put all those links right below in the description. All you got to do is grab your thumb, scroll down, and just click any of those. Laurie-Ann, I'm officially inviting you to do a super tactical session for the Business Creator Club, which, by the way, if you're listening and you have no idea what that is, go to businesscreator.club and you can go sign up. That's our community aspect, a lot of business creators, and we're learning together and we're like testing things together. So, Laurie, I would love to invite you and actually do a session there.
Done.
We can talk about the specifics, specific topic later. But if you're listening and you want to learn a little bit more specifics, let us know in the comments below, and we'll make sure that gets to Laurie-Ann so we can do this session.
That sounds great. That sounds, anything to help more people like share their voice and tell their story. You got
so
it.
good. Okay. What has been one of the craziest stories from your customer? You don't have to say a name, but it'd be like, wow, like that story.
Oh, for one of my customers, my clients?
Or you, I don't know, like that you've seen on stage and you're like, wow, so impactful.
Well, I am going to share a client success because she gave her in-demand signature speech. She stepped off the stage to 26 paid speaking opportunities for one organization. So I got the message saying, Laurie-Ann, I used the speech that you helped me develop, and this is what I got. She goes, now what do I do? So it was such a funny conversation. I was just like, okay, here's what you want to do next right now while this is still really hot. So that's that's what an in-demand signature speech will do for you when it's about really giving the audience really good value and at the same time calling in, pulling in, attracting the right people to work with. And the people who aren't your ideal clients, it's not that you're pushing them away, but they become referral agents for you.
Oh, so good. Yeah. Awesome. Laurie-Ann, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
And then for those listening, thank you for tuning in. Go to containersprofit.com to find all the other episodes. Go to businesscreator.club for the community and bizros.co if you want to find out a little bit more about what we do with content production. So good. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.